Good morning, everybody. I'm Quentin Beckham, your CAR president, and I welcome you to our virtual November general membership meeting and annual business meeting, which also includes our 2022 officers and directors election. As we continue on with the agenda today, we're going to let you say the Pledge of Allegiance on your own, as it feels strange for me to say it by myself, and I often make mistakes. And now we will be moving on to the approval of the minutes from CAR's September general membership meeting, which included the Development and Economic Summit. The minutes were included in handouts and in a link within the event description for today's event and are also available in the Zoom chat window. If there are any additions or correction to the distributed minutes, please submit your feedback using the Zoom chat window. And there being no corrections, they stand as approved and distributed. As always, we are fortunate and extremely grateful to our sponsors for stepping up and helping us to provide wonderful programming for all of you year-round. This month's session is brought to you courtesy of our presenting sponsor, Home Warranty, and our event sponsors, Farm Credit of the Virginias and Real Estate Weekly. Truly, we value the professionalism, service, and support of our affiliates to CAR and its members. Since we're not able to visit with these sponsors in person, please review the handouts to learn more about these companies. And I would like to welcome Rose Dahmer of Home Warranty to share a few words with us. Rose?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Rose Dahmer, your local sales rep for Home Warranty, Inc., and I'm based out of Stanton. I just wanted to take a few minutes and update everybody and let you know the changes that are coming in with our Home Warranty, excuse me, our 2022 Home Warranty Inc. brochure. These changes will be effective starting the 1st of December. As you know, our best and our most popular plan is our 14-month Home Warranty Protection Plan. Our new pricing will begin at $575 and include a $100 service fee per incident deductible. Pricing would be $475 with a $100 agent discount fee waived for you agents. Some of our new items that we're going to be featuring, we've added plumbing, stoppages, and ice maker coverages. We will be offering a free 360 Home Connect utility and moving services to our buyers, our sellers, as well as our agents. We've added optional limited roof leak coverage and optional limited slab leak coverage, and both of those are for $100. We've also added our surge protection coverage. It's featuring Surge Shield for $84, which will cover your mechanical systems as well as your appliances. And for $144, we're going to be adding our electronic devices for Surge Shield Plus. We will have no coverage for landlines or mobile phones. Our terms and conditions, they'll be available only on QR codes now. They won't be inside of our brochure like we've been publishing them. We still offer and are A-rated with the Better Business Bureau with our customer reviews. Your buyers will still have the option of choosing their own local service providers to do diagnosis as well as repairs. We still have the live call 24/7 with 2 call centers, Sioux Falls and Rock Rapids. We still offer cash out options for repairs. We still still have no limit on your square footage. And don't forget our 6-month free, no strings attached listing coverage for your sellers. While their home is on the market, listed for sale, this coverage will expire on the closing date or up to 6 months, whichever occurs first. You guys have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to me. You can also visit our website at www.homewarrantyinc.com. Our updated brochures will be featured January. So anybody needs anything, feel free to call me. I'm here to help you. Thanks very much. back to you, Quentin. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Rose. I really appreciate all of your support and your hard work. So now I would like to just share a few association announcements and reminders. First, and one of the ones that we are especially proud of, is the Virginia Realtors 2021 President, Beth Dalton, and her challenge to local associations and their members to complete Fairhaven as a way for us to learn more about fair housing and demonstrate a commitment to ensuring that housing is truly fair. Through the course of this, multiple associations competed to see who could achieve the highest percentage of Fairhaven completion in the Virginia Realtors footprint, and CAR placed #1 in that challenge. Thank you to those members who completed Fairhaven training. We appreciate your continuous commitment to combating discrimination in real estate and to be a stronger advocate for fair housing and our code of ethics. If you aren't familiar with Fairhaven, it is a National Association Realtors Fair Housing Simulation training that uses the power of storytelling to help members identify, prevent, and address discriminatory practices in real estate. Fairhaven is available to you at no cost, and it takes 40 to 60 minutes to complete. You can step into the program and out of the program so that you can come back and finish it in bits and pieces. And as one who has taken it, I can tell you it's one of the best electronic programs that NAR has put out. In addition, I sincerely hope each of you will take the first step to increasing your sphere of influence by signing up to volunteer on a CAR 2022 master group, project team, or committee. Influence through collaboration amongst realtors, affiliates, local government, and the community is one of the many ways CAR is your gateway to more. Learn more about each master group and committee and complete a 2022 volunteer interest form by Monday, November 22nd. Volunteering with CAR is open for realtors and affiliates. The volunteer webpage has been provided in the Zoom chat window. You can also visit it at any time on the CAR member portal or single sign-on dashboard. 2022 volunteers will be notified of their service in December. I also hope that most realtors in our audience have satisfied the National Association of Realtors Code of Ethics requirement. NAR requires realtors complete the Code of Ethics course every 3 years. The current 3-year cycle started on January 1st, 2019, and it ends on December 31st of this year. We've been sending out emails since the summer encouraging members to send in their ethics completion certificates. Please note that while you may have completed an ethics continuing education course as a part of your license renewal, the Department of Professional and Occupational Regulation does not talk to NAR. Therefore, NAR still needs CAR to send proof that you took an ethics course. CAR and the National Association of Real Estate Brokers Realtist Chapter of Richmond are joining together to bring you exceptional discounts for at-home with diversity courses with Margot Wheeler in December. If you've not had the pleasure of being taught by Margot, this is not an opportunity you want to miss. Currently, only 4.5% of the Realtor membership has the at-home with diversity certification. So this is an opportunity to increase that number as well as stand out amongst the crowd as embracing diversity. This being the end of the announcements, we will now move on to our annual meeting portion of the event. I would like to welcome Anthony McGee, CAR past president, who is filling in for immediate past president Tom Woolfolk to conduct the CAR officers and directors election. Anthony has served as a member of the nominating committee, and he will now give us an overview of that group's diligent work and formally introduce the slate of candidates for 2022. Anthony?
Thank you, Quentin. Before I present the slate of candidates, I would like to give you all an idea of what went into the nominating process. The nominating committee carefully considered candidate applications and conducted interviews to evaluate leadership skills to select the next set of board members. I would like to thank those members on the nominating committee: Kim Armstrong, Janice O'Hara, Yana Smith, Sasa Tripp, and Chair Tom Woolfolk. Thank you all for your hard work. I'm excited now to officially announce the candidates for the executive leadership and board of directors in 2022 as presented on the ballot. The first two positions have already been elected, so there's no action needed here today. Pam Dent will serve as CAR president, and Quentin Beckham will serve as immediate past president. Now it's time to announce the candidates who you will be voting for today. For those nominees, President-elect S. Lisa Herndon, Treasurer Ann Burrows, 3-year Director Keith Davis, 3-year Director Josh White, 3-year Director Woody Fincham, 2-year Director Amanda Spagoni, and 1-year Director Candace Vanderlinda, and 1-year Director Ben Reeves. Also listed on the ballot are the following board members who are fulfilling their remaining terms: Reeves Bailey, Georgia Lindsay, Ginger Slavic, and Keith Davis. We appreciate the time and service these members are providing to CAR. Please note that only CAR primary and secondary realtor members can vote. Affiliate members, non-salespersons, and MLS only members are not eligible. Realtor members, you should have received an email from CAR at 9 a.m. this morning. You can vote one of two ways. First option is online on the online ballot. The second option is the fillable PDF, which you can fax in or you can email it. If you guys could please encourage all your colleagues in your office to participate in this election before 5 p.m. today. Thank you. And Quentin, I'm handing the meeting back over to you.
Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate you stepping in for Tom today. Before we conclude the election portion of our program, I would like to recognize our outgoing board members. These include that was interesting. So let me try this again. Before we conclude the election portion of our program, I would like to recognize our outgoing board members. These include Ann Burrows, Rachel Burns, Rachel Foster, and Tom Pace. It's definitely been an interesting year for all of us on the board of directors and the staff at CAR, and I'm so very appreciative of all the time and energy they committed and put in, and the work, the hours on Zooms, the time and the change, making an impact and keeping us moving forward in a year that has proved challenging for everyone. At this time, we will move into the Senior Trends in Housing presentation, followed by the Senior Transitions panel discussion. According to the census, 9% of the populations of Charlottesville are seniors, and 33% of those seniors are living alone. Senior support and care are extremely important, especially as we continue to navigate through the pandemic. The Professional Development Master Group recognized that importance and wanted to provide us with excellent resources and subject matter experts. To start us off, I would like to welcome Ryan Price, newly appointed Deputy Chief Economist of Virginia Realtors, to share trends and statistics around seniors and housing. Ryan, I'd like to pass the meeting over to you now.
Thank you, Quentin. Good morning, everyone, and thanks so much for having me on. I'm Ryan Price. As Quentin mentioned, I'm the Deputy Chief Economist at Virginia Realtors, and I've had the pleasure of working with many of you over the years on the market reporting in the CAR area. And for those who I haven't had a chance to meet yet, I'm looking forward to that sometime in the near future, hopefully in person. But I'm excited to talk about a topic that's so important for all of us and continues to be really front and center around so many of the conversations about how the demographic landscape in our community is changing and evolving. Seniors play such a key role, not only in the housing market, which we'll dig into a bit today, but in each of our personal lives. And I'm definitely looking forward to the panel discussion today to get some insights, from those who are working in this space day to day, and what services are out there, and what tips can help with this transition period that so many seniors and their families in our community are going through. But before we dive into the panel discussion, I'd like to take a few minutes to highlight some of the trends that we've been seeing in the housing market, specifically related to senior adults, and then touch on some of the demographic factors that are influencing these trends. So older adults, they make up a pretty key segment of the homeownership market in the community, as I'm sure all of you know, and many of your clients, likely fall into this category. You can see here about a third of all homeowner households in the state are age 65 and up, and that's more than 630,000 households. Locally, if we look at the data, the proportion's even higher. About 35% of all homeowner households are seniors in the Charlottesville metropolitan area, which is almost 20,000 households. And so this reflects really the demographics of the area. The share of seniors in the region overall is a bit higher than the state. And then as we think about homeownership, all along the age spectrum, older adults are more likely to own their homes than younger adults, which is true here in Virginia and also nationally. In Virginia, the homeownership rate peaks with the age 75 to 84 cohort at nearly 82%. The largest jump in homeownership rate occurs when people are in their mid 30s to mid 40s, which is when many young families could be buying their first home. And you can see it there in the data. In Virginia, the homeownership rate goes from about 35% or so for those that are under 35, and then it jumps up to nearly 60% as we move to the age 35 to 44 cohort. So we can clearly see this jump reflected in the data, and then it trends upward from there through the senior years. So when we look at the age distribution in Virginia, one thing that's clear is that the senior population continues to get larger over time. You can see here about 16% of Virginians are 65 and older as of 2019, which is up from 12% at the start of last decade, 2010. The two largest generations are millennials and baby boomers, which combine to make up about half of the state's entire population. And so what's interesting is that the youngest baby boomers are now in their mid 50s, and so the 65 and older population is expected to get much larger in the coming decades as more and more baby boomers age into this demographic. So in addition to the fact that baby boomers are one of the largest generations, people are also living longer, which is a big factor that's driving the trends that we're seeing as the older adult population continues to grow. You can see here the life expectancy in the US has increased by almost an entire decade from the 1960s up until now. Another trend that's underway in many parts of the country, including here in Virginia, is how multi-generational living is becoming more and more common. A multi-generational household is defined as one where two or more generations live under the same roof. And there are many varieties of this, though the most common are two adult generation households, which is typically either millennials that are living with their parents or baby boomers with their elder parents in the same house. Another common one is three generation households, which are grandparents, parents, and children living in the same home. And then also a smaller subset are grand families, which are households where grandchildren under the age of 18 are living with their grandparents. And so the most recent data that we have on this is from 2019, and the data is pretty clear. Multi-generational living is very prevalent in Virginia and the country as a whole. It's estimated that nearly 2.4 million Virginians are living in a multi-generational household, which is nearly a third of the state's entire population. Multi-generational living is becoming more common recently over the last decade. And most of the growth, though, of the past decade has been with millennials living with their parents, but more and more adults are having their elderly parents move in with them as well. which is a trend that's expected to grow in the coming years. So every year, NAR conducts a survey to track generational trends of buyers and sellers. I'm sure many of you have probably seen this before. The results of the survey provide key insights into what are driving the trends that we're seeing in the housing market. And importantly, what are the key preferences for each generation in the market? And this is particularly useful, as we want to understand the patterns in the buying and selling decisions of seniors. So as we'll see here on the next slide, the survey suggests a very strong correlation between age and the decision to buy a senior-related housing. So an important component of the housing market for seniors is senior-related housing. And senior housing includes really any type of home that is geared towards seniors. And this could be homes in the 55 and older communities, and also senior-specific housing facilities, really anything all along the care spectrum. The survey found that nearly half of home buyers over the age of 65 bought senior-related housing, which is about 45% of home buyers in this demographic. The most common type of senior housing purchase were single-family detached homes. And you can see here on the table, the number of buyers who opt for senior housing increases significantly starting over the age of 65. So an important thing to keep in mind, in this market segment is that household income tends to fall as we get older. This trend, starts to show up in the data around the mid-50s and continues to get lower over time. People in this demographic are more likely to be retired or living on fixed incomes, which is evident in the data. But it's also true that homeowners in this demographic are likely to have more equity built up in their home than, say, younger homeowners. So, all of these factors play a role in the types of housing that seniors look for when they enter the market. So as we look at the factors really that are driving the senior housing market, the survey asked respondents, what was their primary reason for buying a home? And the number one response for buyers age 65 and older was their desire to move closer to family and friends. More than half, actually, of this demographic indicated this was their primary reason they decided to buy a home. The second most common response was the desire to downsize or buy a smaller home. About a quarter of buyers over 65 moved primarily to downsize into a smaller home. And the third most common reason that people age 65 and older bought a home was for retirement. About 20% of home buyers in this demographic identified retirement, as the primary factor in their decision to buy a home. So that's all I had on a quick summary of the senior housing trends. Before we jump into the panel discussion, though, I wanted to take a moment and see if there are any questions on any of the market trends that we've been seeing.
And I should mention that Ryan, along with Dr. Lisa Sturdivant, create our monthly and quarterly market reports for us that you see come out that provide so much information. Ryan, with the shift that you're seeing, it seems like there's a shift in how multi-generational living is happening and in trends in purchasing of senior housing. What are your thoughts on how that's going to continue to impact our housing market as we move out of the pandemic?
Quentin, I think there are several key trends that have been emerging recently with seniors in the market. We saw on the slide earlier that a lot of folks are looking to buy homes specifically designed for seniors, whether it be the 55 and older independent living communities or a unit in, a senior care type facility. So I think that's going to continue to be in high demand, as is multi-generational living as well. So talking about, homes that have separate spaces for for extended family and multiple generations. And then other parts of the market, that are not age restricted or senior oriented. I think what's interesting in a lot of ways, I think seniors and first time home buyers are likely eyeing, many of the same properties. The NAR survey suggests that many seniors are buying to downsize. And so while, location, clearly it plays a massive role in the price of a home, but size does also. And so many of the smaller homes on the market, tend to be priced lower than the larger homes, as you know. So, both first-time home buyers and seniors on fixed incomes are more price sensitive usually than other market segments. So it seems that competition for these homes, coming out of the pandemic, is likely to keep getting more intense for that type of home. I think another factor here is, the survey suggests overwhelmingly that seniors are buying single family detached homes. And, it's not to say that multifamily senior living is not in demand, because it certainly is. But I think for the most part, it would make sense that the smaller detached and maybe even single level homes will continue to be in high demand in the years to come, coming out of the pandemic.
And we have a pretty large senior population. I think I read a statistic that we have more seniors than the entire population of Canada. And I'm increasingly wondering how they're going to access value in the homes that they've owned, because the amount of equity has bumped up dramatically. And I'm curious, although we don't track mortgages specifically, do you see any sort of trend towards more reverse mortgaging and or them leveraging that equity to help family or their own health needs?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. We haven't been tracking the mortgage data, but I will say that anecdotally, we have been hearing about increasing popularity of this option. But I think what's really going to come into play here is, as multi-generational living, continues to become more common and almost a necessity for some, based on the price points that are, we're seeing in the market. I do think that it does make sense that many families who do decide to go that route will kind of pool their money together, whether it be equity from an elder parent's home, fixed incomes, and then incomes from the primary caregivers. I think you will see an increased trend of pooling resources together to buy maybe a larger, more expensive home that can accommodate multiple generations.
And do you see any trends in combination with the legislation to help with some of this? For instance, a lot of our seniors that own homes, they have large amounts of equity in the home, but because of their fixed income, it's hard for them to access mortgages. And so we're curious as time goes on, if we're seeing any sort of change in the legislation to allow them to access that equity in combination with their fixed income, whether it is for healthcare, to help other family, or just to access that and use it in the economy and for themselves.
So I do know that folks are working on that down in Richmond. I haven't heard of anything being, proposed recently, but it's certainly something that we'll be keeping an eye on with our team, and we'll pass along information once we know. But I do think that's going to be really important, especially as that population, the elderly adult population, continues to just really swell. I mean, it's going to double. It's supposed to double, by 2040. And so I think having those mechanisms in place at the state level and federally are really going to be important.
And I think, as Michael Guthrie's pointed out in the chat, I know we've seen anecdotally competition for what we would think of as more affordable housing from seniors with first-time homebuyers, because they're the group of seniors that are downsizing so that they can access the cash from that sale are now in competition with first-time homebuyers, younger families, and couples.
Yeah, it's the trend that we've been seeing all around the state, and I think seniors to some degree have a little bit of an advantage that they have so much equity, many of them built up. But it is going to be, I think the competition is going to continue to be pretty intense for those starter homes, for those downsized homes, for the single level homes.
One of my favorite things of being president is quarterly we get to participate in Zoom calls or conference calls with Ryan and Lisa going over our local market reports and the amount of value that they add through aggregating and analyzing and giving us this information back is really incredible. And so know that there's a whole lot that goes into that, which is why I'm especially appreciative that Ryan has agreed to stay on and be our moderator of the Senior Transitions panel discussion. And so at this time, I would like to welcome our panelists for that discussion. There is David Terborg of Anthology of Charlottesville Senior Living, Stephen Landis of AskLandis, and Sheila Mcgrath of the Jefferson Area Board for Aging. If you would like to know more about these panelists specifically, please refer to today's handouts. And if you have a question for one of the panelists, please enter it in the Zoom chat window or in the Q&A window. So Ryan, I'm going to pass this panel discussion over to you. Take it away.
Great. Thanks, Quentin. Hi, panelists. Thanks for being here. To everyone on the call, we're approaching this panel discussion on senior transitions really through the lens of three key themes that directly relate to this transition period, that occur in so many seniors' lives. That being support services for seniors, moving and downsizing services, and then also the senior community experience. And so I'd like to begin the discussion just thinking overall, about the support services and the structures that are available to seniors in the area. And we'll start with Sheila Mcgrath at JABA, which is the Jefferson Area Board for Aging. Sheila, thank you so much for being here this morning. Sheila, to start us off, could you, for the group, describe the levels of support that JABA provides to seniors?
Sure, there's many levels that we have. First, I would say information and assistance. We have people just contacting JABA. They're just looking for information for specific resources to meet their needs. That's information we can give over the phone, general information, or through our JABA resource list. We have many subjects with a resource list, such as senior housing list or assisted living, finding low-cost dentistry or dental care, transportation. So just resource lists, people can go on and move on themselves. They don't need any more assistance. Then we have people that do contact JABA. They know why they're calling JABA. Like for instance, it's Medicare open enrollment. So we have our Medicare Insurance counseling or Affordable Care Act. We have people call for a Wills for Seniors program, which gives somebody the eligibility to get done a power of attorney, advance medical directive, and a will at no charge. Then we have more supportive assistance, whether it's for a caregiver or a caregiver family member that's out of state, and they're calling for their parents or loved ones here in the Charlottesville area. They need assistance maybe filling out a Medicaid application or housing application, or they're needing to speak with someone such as an options counselor here at JABA, but they're not sure what they want to do. They know what they are struggling with living on their own. They don't know whether they should go in assisted living. So they can speak with someone to talk about their options, learn about the options, what they have, support from JABA and in the community, such as social services. We can do referrals too. Just having that conversation and making a plan with them and helping support them and have them reach their goal, and just to be there and discuss options.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, it sounds like a pretty wide range that you guys offer, and kind of touch on different kind of phases through that journey of transition.
It is.
Yeah,
and for caregivers as well, we also have a new program that's coming out for caregivers. We actually have on our website a caregiver survey. So we're looking to build out supports and resources for caregivers for the caregivers themselves.
Okay.
Because a lot of people are doing in-home caregiving or working and taking care of their family members. We have an adult care center here in Charlottesville, Louisa, that's a good respite for caregivers. A day program. We also have for caregivers, caregiver support group on Facebook. We have monthly newsletters. So it's a lot to connect with. So it's to support just information, somebody that knows where they're going, and then just helping people to, work through their journey where they want to like age in place, short-term planning, long-term planning.
Okay. Well, I certainly encourage everyone on the call to spread the word about that great resource. Thank you, Sheila, for that.
Sure.
As we're thinking about, these services and also the market trends that, we touched on a little earlier, a lot of seniors in the market now are looking to move in the coming years, and many of whom will be downsizing into a smaller home. So let's pivot the conversation now into specifically moving related services for seniors. And so we have with us today Steve Landis of AskLandis, Downsizing in Home Services. Thank you for being here, Steve.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
So tell us, if someone has an idea on when a loved one or a client wants to move, how far in advance should they schedule a moving company to help out?
Really, the whole process should start, typically 6 to 8 to 12 months out, not just for the moving part, but for the downsizing part as well. Let me just briefly say, a lot of people on the Zoom know who I am, but I started the business 13 years ago, a year after my father passed away. My mom's still living. And so I went through a huge downsizing process with her. So I know firsthand what it's like to, one, be emotional with things, and two, the whole downsize process and working with people trying to get into a smaller space. But in regard to the planning of this move, it's really important the further out that you can plan it, because you've got to think about your space that you're moving into, what you'll be able to take with you, and then what your family members may or may not want. Really helps the process and define the move in itself and the preparation of it. Typically, my clients are moving from very large houses to smaller spaces, losing formal living room and dining rooms, garages, and a lot of storage. So those are big areas that really need to be focused on. And what do you do with all that stuff? Do your kids want it? Probably not. So how do you get rid of those things, which I know will probably come up a little bit later. So really, the more planning that you can do, like anything with a major purchase, the better off you are. And that goes the same with the moving.
Okay. Thanks, Steve. So now we know the types of moving and downsizing services that are available. Let's find out a little bit more about the types of places many seniors have chosen to move to and call home. And so we have with us today as well, David Terborg with Anthology of Charlottesville Senior Living. Thanks for joining the discussion, David.
Thank you for having me.
David, as we're thinking about seniors in transition, when should people be looking at a senior community option like Anthology?
So my product in particular, there are people who have needs, and I think Sheila from JABA really hit on a lot of the services that are available for people who have needs. For me, I have a lot of amenities in my community. So it's not just a space to live, it's the space just outside of that space, taking advantage of that. It's usually people should be reaching out and looking at senior living communities and options before they are. People typically look for independent living when they need assistance. And so they look for independent living, but they end up needing assisted living. And another big factor with senior housing is dementia and providing care for dementia. And so very typically in my industry, people are realizing that there's a problem and that a loved one needs assistance, and then coming to a community looking for assisted living, and they wind up needing memory care. So honestly, those conversations, and this is my challenge, this isn't everyone else's challenge, but getting people to think about making a change with a living situation, very difficult. Steve Landis has built a business out of it, but kind of thinking about that change before you need it. People having conversations about what they want to do, I think is very important. And in the senior population, it's typically not the conversation. They don't come to that conversation until they have a need.
That makes sense. So it seems like the trend is, perhaps these conversations, while uncomfortable, they might need to be a little bit more proactive and sort of forward thinking, and sort of when the journey takes you there, already having the conversation and knowing what's available could be helpful. Thank you, David, for that. Circling back now to support services, Sheila, in terms of JABA's service footprint, what area or geography does your organization cover? And also, what is the age range that JABA serves typically?
Yes, thank you. So JABA serves the Planning District 10, which is the city of Charlottesville, and then the counties of Albemarle, Savannah, Greene, Louisa, and Nelson. So we are an area agency on aging. So every state has them. There's 25 in the state of Virginia. So they're in every area. We just serve the Planning District 10, 60 and over, or those 18 over with disabilities, for direct services such as home delivered meals that we provide, or companion support services, those that need assistance with light housekeeping, throwing in laundry, doing those things. But I have caregivers call from other states looking for resources. So you don't have to be 60 to call for resources, but to get direct services, it could have to be 60 and over, or 18 over with disability.
Okay. Thank you for that, Sheila. I'd like to dig in a little bit more, Steve, on the moving aspect, of the transition for seniors. And when someone reaches out to AskLandis, could you kind of walk us through, how a consultation is typically handled, kind of the nuts and bolts of it?
Absolutely. So our company over time has changed the process and how we do things, and we're really considered kind of a soup to nuts, a one contact for everything. And the reason for that is my dad handled a lot of things on my parents' property, and when he passed away, my mom had to maintain the property. So I try to treat all of our clients as if they're like my mom. So they don't know who to call for a painter, they don't know who to call for a moving company, they don't know, if their stuff is valuable, all those sort of things. So I've become kind of this advisor to them, or a company as an advisor to them, and with their decluttering and getting ready to put their house on the market, we'll remove things for them. And we typically sort things by either selling it, donating, or disposing of it. And then we can stage houses to sell. Once it sells, we move them. Then we own a cleaning company that cleans the house for the next owner. So we're kind of a full encompassing company to take care of all those needs of our clients. And then we subcontract window washing, carpet cleaning, handyman services, things like that. But we manage all of those projects, and we work closely with our, respected contractors that we've worked with over the years.
Okay, great, Steve. That's quite a lot that you guys have on the table. And as we're thinking now, the move itself, getting back into more of the specifics on the living in a senior community. David, I was hoping you could elaborate a little bit on, some of the specific services that your community provides residents and their families.
We have independent living and then assisted living and memory care. A lot of the options in Charlottesville have similar. There's different business structures, but within those three buckets, independent living, assisted living, and memory care, independent living really is about kind of what you want to be able to do. We provide housekeeping. It is a rental, so you don't have to pay for your utilities. We provide meals. Dining in Charlottesville is very important. It doesn't matter what age you are. And so being able to appreciate fine dining and also have good nutrition. Those are all things that you'll get in a senior living community. Mine's better. And then assisted living, that role of assistance really comes in. And that is really, and all of the competitors in the area are focused on individuals. So it could be help with medication management. It could be is something as simple as putting compression hose on. Whatever those needs of the individual senior are, that's how that is handled. And there's usually a cost that goes with that. Assisted living, even in independent living, transportation, being able to access the amenities of Charlottesville, the area, are a big part of what senior living kind of provides. Memory care, and I had mentioned it, memory care is licensed under assisted living. So you kind of have the protection of the Department of Social Services in Virginia kind of overseeing these areas, assisted living and memory care. Memory care really becomes an issue when wandering or exit seeking in and around dementia is a safety concern. So I think kind of within those three levels, those are the services that are provided.
Great. Thanks for that, David. Sheila, I'm curious to hear if you could provide kind of getting a little bit more into the details about the types of senior care and what they typically cost, like the items in the caregiver's toolkit, kind of that you mentioned before. They're kind of an overview of some of the cost items, the big ticket items.
Correct. So we have listed here in our caregiver's toolkit, which is hard copy off our website, types of care such as adult daycare centers. Typically, daily cost is about $82 per day. Personal home or home health care. This is about an 8-hour day. Hourly cost $21 to $22. Daily cost $168 to $176. Then there is the assisted living, semi-room or private room. Annual costs can run from $61,000 to $71,000. And then nursing home with skilled level of care in a nursing home. Annual cost $73,000 to $80,000. So it's a comparison of cost and what people need. It's definitely by their need, I believe.
Okay.
So it's good to speak with someone about options and what these may include or don't include, if it fits somebody, if it's what they're looking for. So it's also the financial barrier sometimes.
Sure. Is there sometimes a sliding scale? Is there any kind of subsidies at play, or is it pretty much the same cost for everyone?
Well, skilled nursing facilities do accept Medicaid, as far as I understand. Probably David could go more into this about auxiliary grants.
Okay.
That's helps pay for assisted living if you are on Medicaid and low income. So, but you have to apply.
Okay.
And then you have to find facilities that do accept auxiliary grants. So.
Okay. Thanks for that, Sheila. Turning now to moving services, I know many in the audience, myself included, have experienced, some of the logistical side that comes with moving a loved one into a smaller space. And that includes, what to do with all the stuff that's accumulated over the years. So Steve, if someone has, a bunch of furniture or material that the person moving, doesn't necessarily want to hang on to, can a moving company like yours help with that?
Our company is a service-oriented company that offers the downsizing, decluttering, moving, cleaning, and the contract work. Moving companies typically do not handle any of that, whereas a company like mine does handle that. And our company, again, sorts it by either selling and donating it or disposing of it. If we donate it, our clients get the tax write-off with an itemized list. We assign that donation value because we don't overvalue anything. the things that we sell for our clients is dispersed through many outlets that I have as a company to sell for them, and they get a commission back. And then trash, we try to recycle as much as possible, given the amount of trash that is generated by our clients. So no, a moving company will not take care of that. Our company does, which is more of the service-oriented company.
So do you have any, thinking about more specific items, are there things that, seem like they would have a value, but typically don't have a lot of value in them? Or what are some of the common things that are misconceptions out there about, hanging on to some of these items?
That is a great question, and we set the expectation every time we meet with a client. The millennials do not want any antiques. Typically, these seniors' kids don't want their furniture, which makes sense because millennials like sleek, cheap. They're moving pretty quickly, from state to state. They like small spaces. They like clean. They love mid-century modern furniture. They love IKEA. Mid-century modern furniture, we're still selling at a very, very high price for the quality of it. True Danish mid-century modern furniture. Antiques have been dropping for the last 25 to 30 years in value. And, we hear every day, well, I've got these great antiques. Well, the reality is the generation that's trying to get rid of the antiques is the generation that wants it. Now, there are still people that are buying antiques, like antique dealers, but they're not getting the prices that our clients paid for it in the past. And the same with Oriental rugs. These houses nowadays don't have formal dining rooms or formal living rooms. They're open spaces. So very rarely would you have somebody buying a formal dining room, that seats 12 people. And that goes the same with the china that keeps getting passed down through generations. Nobody really wants it anymore. Replacements is overwhelmed with, now they're offering pennies on the dollar. Used to be decent selling to replacements down in North Carolina. Now it's pennies. And of course, eBay is just over flooded with a lot of china. So really the best advice I give to my clients is if you want to keep that in the family, then keep it in the family, because if you want to sell it, you're not going to make much money off of it. It's more sentimental value than actual value, monetary value.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's really good to hear. I know
at the same time, it's a generational thing. So it's not, it's sad, but it's a generational thing. Like when I have parties at my house, I'm using disposable paper plates. I don't own china.
Steve, real quick before we switch gears, we had a question from the audience. How do you determine the cost for your service? Is there a fee based on the home size or a percentage based on volume or something else?
We do our pricing. It certainly varies. Our pricing is based on the number of people that we need, the trucks, the materials, the time, where things are going. So we do what's called project pricing, and our project pricing is, anywhere between typically $2,500 to $12,500. We have a client right now that is $45,000, but it's a massive client. So it varies. We are often asked the question, if selling my stuff pays for the invoice. It depends. It depends on what. Typically, family members are holding on to the most expensive things that they have. I had a client that her invoice was $10,000 and I wrote her a check for $135,000. That's pretty unusual, but I did sell a piece of her furniture for $100,000. So it can vary. But in regards to the pricing, we're the ones that's taking care of the trash, the donation, the recyclables, the paint, the insecticides, and using our service typically speeds how quickly you can prepare your house to get on the market. And obviously in this market right now, that's everything. The faster you can get on the market, the reward is the equity that you've built up into your house too.
Got it. Great.
And we do offer financing for our services.
Thanks, Steve. Switching back to the community living experience, David, we had a multi-part question here. We got one from the chat, and then we'll kind of dovetail it into the next question. So the question from the audience is, does Anthology provide dementia services? Now you touched on the different levels of service that you guys provide. Could you speak specifically to that? And then also, if you could give us a little flavor of sort of what the layouts are of the units and sort of what specific options, folks who are interested in your community may be looking at.
So specific to dementia, yes, we do provide dementia services. We have a memory care area, but in combating dementia, really exercise, socialization, and keeping up with your doctor's orders, basically. Those are all things that are very important. And then inside dementia, we use Fit Minds, which is a program that kind of pulls those things together. And the Alzheimer's organization provides a lot of education. All of our staff members are certified ALZ providers, in addition to the Fit Mind program that we have. So dementia specific, absolutely. A lot of stuff in the news about, oh, this medicine or that medicine. Still, what we have right now is routine and socialization, and then just providing good care. And I think that's really what you should be looking for if dementia is an issue. And then as far as the second part is layouts. So we have studio apartments, 1 bedroom den, and 2-bedroom apartments throughout independent living and assisted living. For Anthology, we are running 400 square foot for a studio, up to 1,050 square foot for a 2-bedroom. Square foot is hard. You have someone who has a huge house and you start talking about 1,000 square foot. We lose a lot of business by answering that question on the phone. Going to see the community, really, I think if you're thinking about square footage, if you have clients that are considering it, go to the community and see. Steve can probably weigh in on this a lot more than I can, but where you are living right now, how much space are you actually using? What are you doing on a day-to-day basis? And then what would you like to do? Each community that you visit in the area should be able to have specific answers to that. So square footage in the apartments, there's a lot of different variation there. If people move into my community and all they do is stay in their apartment, I have failed. I have a pool, I have a gym, I have 4 different dining room options, libraries, and a bus that can take us anywhere. It's all about how you want to live and what you would like to do. So I don't know if that's a fair answer in and around square footage. I think I danced a little there.
No, that's good. It's, you guys are offering not only, a space for an individual, but more of a community setting and a lot of amenities, sounds like.
Brian, I'm sorry, I apologize. Sheila had asked about payment. Just things to think about. Veterans benefit. There is a bit more available in and around veterans benefits. And so that's something that people should be looking into as far as covering assisted living. Getting waivers. There are not any waivers kind of in the immediate Charlottesville area as far as apartments are concerned. We did have previously an experiment in Crozet, but they went away from that. There's not a lot of availability in and around support. Long-term care insurance. If you have long-term care insurance or your clients have long-term care insurance, that is something that will kick in for assisted living and memory care.
Great. Sheila, switching back over to the support services, I know all industries, particularly the real estate industry, and everyone's kind of been adjusting to, COVID. And I'm wondering, as we're thinking about seniors who are in need and need supporting services, have you seen more like an uptick in calls, more demand, or what are some of the trends that you've been seeing related to COVID and sort of how are you guys handling those?
So as COVID began, we were getting a lot of calls, just people, I think were just panicking, just asking, calling JABA, asking if somebody can go to the grocery store for them and if we have toilet paper. But that has died down. It took a little while for it to die down because then there was other community supports and people were providing resources and services and making it known out to the community with like the COVID street sheets at Albemarle County and Charlottesville for resources. That died down. I did see an uptick in adult children calling, saying they have moved their loved one out of skilled nursing facility or are not planning to put them there because of COVID. So they were moving them in their home, whether they were moving them from out of state into the Charlottesville area or just in around Charlottesville. So that was interesting because then later on I would hear from the adult children saying, my mother's been here for 2 months or 3 months, and now she's really needing services. I didn't know this all before. So it's learning about the services, the impact of COVID at JABA. Our adult care centers had to close, our senior community centers for more active adults, our preschool, we also have a preschool here at JABA. But then things got better. We learned how to, for isolation and socialization for those people not attending, the centers or the adult care, we had activity packets sent out to people, mailings. We did home delivered meals. We came up with JABA came up with At Home with JABA. So you can participate in activities and such and feel involved because it's very lonely for people, especially with COVID, makes it even more lonely, to do things through Zoom or conference calls. So we learned a lot from it.
Yeah, it sounds like it's good to be agile, and the need, I'm sure it's continues to get higher, and it's just the people need to make adjustments, and it sounds like that's really been a great experience for you guys. So we have a question here in the chat box, and I kind of want to open it up to the panel. With your experience in this space, what are some of the legal instruments that you guys have seen used or perhaps would recommend that a family have in place before their senior member is in need of care? And then the second part of that is if there's any insurance that you guys are aware of that can be accessed to help with the care of their parents, since the cost of this stuff tends to be high, particularly with care and housing. So it's a two-part question. Any legal instruments that you're aware of that people are using, and then is there any insurance that could be accessed?
I can talk about legal aspects. Caregivers, it's to find out later in life that their parents do not have a will or advanced medical directive or power of attorney, and sometimes they find out when it's too late or the parents are resisting for someone to take power over them. So I think just having that conversation early on, especially with people, those with dementias, and taking care of that ahead of time, and having a good support system behind that, I think that helps out a lot, being prepared.
I would agree. In fact, in assisted living, having a medical power of attorney is one of the things that we do in my company, that we make sure into assisted living. Beyond senior care, everyone on this panel, please explore having a will, a living will. You can do revocable trusts, but these are things that need to be taken care of now.
Do your firms or companies deal with any of the insurance side of this? Are there specific insurance that folks should be thinking about as they're kind of entering this phase?
I had mentioned long-term care insurance, and there are a lot of different providers in and around long-term care insurance. It has been my experience in dealing with seniors. Long-term care insurance is kind of forced savings. I need to save for, so I can use this vehicle to save for. Assisted living and memory care, it provides policies provide care there. There are long-term care policies that are specific to nursing homes, and we've seen quite a few people who have confidently come in and said, I've got a long-term care policy, but that policy actually only covers nursing home. It is a big task, and there are lots of businesses, even in our area, that can help navigate those. Again, I think it's something that people should look into. If you're not a saver, you should look into long-term care insurance.
Oh, great. That's a good tip. I think we'll move now back to the moving side of things. Steve, if you could, one of the common questions that we get is, if someone wants to sort of try to reduce the cost a little bit of their move, can they save money by packing their stuff beforehand, or are there any tips like that you could offer?
Typically when people pack, and that's a great question because people certainly want to save money on moving, and they ask us, well, what if we pack a certain amount of it? It's called packed by owner, and so if anything were to break on the truck, then it's not insured by the moving company because it is packed by the owner. Whereas if the insurance company or if the moving company packs it, then it falls under their insurance. So really, when you try to save money like that, we've seen clients try to do that, it ends up costing them more money because they're not professional packers. The people should let the professionals do the professional part of it.
Got it. Thank you. So we've touched on a little bit sort of the cost elements of the supportive services and the moving services. David, to switch gears over to the community living experience, could you provide the audience sort of a range of what it would typically cost a year in a community like yours?
So in the rental model, pricing is kind of per square foot, location impacts pricing. Anywhere from, and Sheila had given information already, if you're in that $60,000 a year range, up to close to $150,000 a year, depending on size and amount of care that you need for assisted living. Would kind of be an annual cost. There's different business models in the area. So I'm rental. I don't have a buy-in. There are buy-ins in our community. Buy-ins kind of come in close to a median house value in certain zip codes. And they do have monthly costs after that. The products are actually very different. So there's a lot of different ways to do that cost.
Great. So I'm going to take, looks like we got one more from the audience on reverse mortgages. I can't say that I'm a mortgage broker, so I don't have expertise in this area, but I don't know if anyone on the panel does either, but it sounds like it's a pretty good approach. But I would recommend speaking with a mortgage broker on that. It's a question about the option of using a reverse mortgage to purchase a home. So I think we got time for probably one more question around the table. For all the realtors on the call, what resources should folks be passing along to their clients about your individual areas of expertise in the senior space? We'll start with Sheila and then go to Steve and then finish it off with David. So what resources should realtors be passing along to their clients?
Just giving out JABA's information, and I'd be happy to share with CAR our service guides, and it gives an overview, and it's a nice little booklet. It's not huge. It's nice print, just to know even if we don't know the answer here at JABA, we can help you find the answer. And I think definitely to explore options. Some people think, I've had discussions with people, they're struggling in the home and they're like, I just need to go to assisted living. And they don't even know what's entailed with assisted living. And then we find out that, what are you struggling with? Cooking meals, doing housekeeping, getting to my doctor's appointments. So I think just to explore options, not to just jump to something you're not real familiar with and that you really don't want to do anyway. So I think just encourage them to explore options and contact JABA.
Great. Steve, how about you?
Realtors are definitely our number one referrer. We appreciate all the business that they're referring to us. I've worked with, I can't see the participants. I probably can, but I'm not a millennial, so I'm not sure how to do that. But I think that, it used to be, my mom used to do real estate 20 or 30 years ago, and she was very hands-on with her clients. And I think those days have kind of shifted. Certainly there's a lot of hand-holding with realtors and their clients, but I think that now it's more important that they can kind of pass the baton to me and suggest to their clients to give me a call to see how we can help in just whether they hire us to do the whole 9 yards or just a la carte pieces of it. We don't mind telling our clients that their kids don't want their stuff. And we're very gentle when we say that. But, I think that we run pretty good interference between the realtor and their client in trying to sell their house and help them get rid of the clutter, because we know what to do with this stuff. I have 4,000 square feet in Charlottesville where I'm selling people's stuff. I have an eBay guide separate from that. I have a high-end auction house that I use. I have people that buy broken lawnmowers. So I have a huge, resources for all this stuff that people are trying to get rid of. So again, realtors love them to death. They are our top referrer. I've worked with I see 87 participants. I've probably worked with 80 of them, I'm guessing. And I think it's a win-win for everybody, to be honest with you. So my takeaway from that is refer AskLandis. Free consultations. We work throughout the whole Mid-Atlantic, and we'll travel to DC if you have a client that's moving here from there, vice versa. I don't mind traveling.
All right. Just AskLandis. Thanks, Steve.
There it is.
David, you want to close this out with what realtors should be passing along to their clients about senior living?
Go and see. I think that's the most important piece. When people say senior living, we've got the 1980s and the tragedies that we had with nursing homes, and that is a horrible kind of feeling or picture that people have in their head. So if someone is, looking to buy and, wanting, potentially to have a parent to move in, I would encourage everyone to go shop, walk into senior living and see what is happening, and whether it's something that will be a fit for them and their clients. It's impossible. I've been wrong. I think it was once, but it's impossible to be a loved one and a caregiver. When you're a caregiver, you're a caregiver. And the supports in Charlottesville, there's a lot. It's a really good place to be in this space. So I appreciate the time, and thank you for letting me on the panel.
Thank you, David. We got about one more minute, and it looks like a quick question popped on. I think it might be a pretty quick one to answer related to moving. Do you, Steve, provide services when the client is not moving?
Oh, absolutely. We're running a commercial right now that's focusing on basements and garages. We can come in and organize space, do the same process, sell, donate, dispose. Absolutely. And more people are trying to stay in their houses and get rid of some stuff. Absolutely, we offer the same service.
Great. Well, thank you so much, panelists. It's been a great discussion. And I know that, this information is very relevant and pertinent to so many of us in the community. So thanks again for being here.
Thank you for
having us. We appreciate it.
Thank you all for joining us. And as realtors out there, I hope now that we feel a little better armed on services to access and being the source of the source. and using all of these great people and their services as we deal with our clients that are in need. As we're getting ready to close out, I just want to, it's been a very interesting few years, and we were talking about outgoing board members. I mistakenly left off John Seidler, who served as treasurer and will be leaving that position this year. But all of the folks that have participated on the board, the outgoing members, Rachel Burns, Rachel Foster, Tom Pace, John Seidler, and the many others that are continuing on, have been just amazingly dedicated in trying to keep all of the services CAR provides front and center, while still embracing the commitments that we made in the years past to move the association forward in time, forward in the cause of service and equity, and to keep presenting amazing things to you. And not just the board members, but also the staff who you recognize, and some that you may not have had a lot of chance to interact with, working diligently and very hard behind the scenes. And I just want to take this moment to say how very much I appreciate all of them. And in closing, we do have new Realtor members to CAR that I would like to welcome. In addition to the new members, we have new affiliate members that we would also like to welcome. Please use the portal link that you see on the screen to access our affiliates. They're a great source of information and service for us, and we really appreciate their participation in continuing to make real estate transactions better and keeping realtors the center of all those transactions with their support. As a reminder, realtors can find a list of all those companies there. And since the election also is open till 5 p.m. today, I'm not going to officially adjourn the meeting. Please seek out your emails where you can cast your votes. And I thank you for joining, and I hope to see you at the virtual December meeting for the installation of officers and directors on Thursday, December 9th at 9 a.m. Thank you all very much, and I hope you have a great day.